Will met with Beyond Stillness for 7 weeks to articulate and publicly share this story of wisdom, purpose, connection, and hope. This interview was recorded during the final meeting. To learn more about our programs, services, or to sponsor a guest on their story crafting journey, please visit us at www.beyondstillness.org. This week on Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke, we welcome guest Will Schmierer. In December of 2019, a leg wound led to an unexpected diagnosis, AFib. Days later, a stroke left his entire right side paralyzed. Then came another blow, multiple sclerosis, MS. At that point, Will was 37 and weighed 530 pounds. Recovery was slow, but he has always been one to do things 1,000%. And so goes his recovery. A book on nasal breathing changed his outlook and life. He became a biker, then runner, and ultimately a resource for other survivors. Now, as the founder of Survivor Science, Will is dedicated to sharing his journey and empowering others to reclaim their strength and resilience. Thank you for joining us for part 2, Will Schmierer's interview.
Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke is made possible by our guests and tax-deductible donations from friends and listeners like you. Join us in empowering stroke survivors with stories of wisdom, purpose, connection, and hope at www.beyondstillness.org.
Hello and welcome to Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke. Stroke offers a powerful, life-changing shift in perspective. Each colorful memory creates a parable for life's greater teachings, a compass for journeys ahead, and inspired wisdom for unique growth. Beyond Stillness offers a moment of pause for storytelling and reflection. Ultimately, we create a welcoming environment that reveres the moment beyond stroke's paralysis. Still moments unite humanity and divinity. I'm your host, Molly Bucola. As we begin today, we take a moment of pause, a moment to honor the wisdom that has emerged through recovery. And we give thanks. Now, Will Schmierer's interview. Will, thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
Yeah, absolutely. My pleasure.
What did you know about strokes or think you knew about strokes before yours happened?
Before mine happened, I thought it only happened to older people, like a lot of people. I didn't know the numbers. At a minimum, in my head, I always thought you had to be 50 or 60. I didn't realize that I was excelling at doing everything wrong and putting my body and my mind in a place where I could shorten that timeline to 37. So it was a surprise, to say the least.
So you were 37 when you had your stroke. You
Yeah.
said that you've always done things 1,000%.
Mm-hmm.
That was a theme throughout your story. Where do you
Yes.
think that mentality came from?
That is just a New York, New Jersey, East Coast, east of 95. It is the mentality. Like, if you've ever been to New York or been around New York, I always hear it and see it. Like, we move fast. Some people think we're mean or brash or whatever, but it's about getting things done, keep it moving. My wife, it's funny because I have a Chilean wife who enjoys the very opposite pace of life. And so that's probably why we're a good team, because she goes slow and I go fast now, especially 5 years out after the stroke. I now go back too fast. So
Can
Yeah.
you tell me more about that?
Yeah, I put a lot of work into my recovery, but in general, like New Yorkers, just we move, right? Yeah, it's just kind of my motto. And that was the same thing is true since the day I had my stroke. Honestly, like I was like, all right, let's get to it. Let's do this. And that was not as easy as I had hoped because I had hoped, okay, well, this happened. This sucks. I don't have a choice. I can't fix it. There's no magic pill. Let's just fix it as fast as we can. And I learned pretty quickly that wasn't the case. But I think I made pretty good progress over the last 5 years. Especially considering I also got hammered with the MS not long after the stroke. I'm different.
In your story, you said that that was actually a turning point to recommit and commit harder to your recovery.
I'm pretty intense. And after the first 30-day stint of rehab, I was still in a wheelchair and I knew I could do more work. And I just figured, well, if I gotta go, I gotta do this. There's only two choices, either do it or don't. And I'm gonna try my hardest to do it. I mean, I have kids, have a wife, have a life. And again, very naively, I wanted to try to fix things as fast as possible. So I figured if I'm going to be in rehab for another 30 days, we're going to figure out how to walk during that time.
You said I had two choices. And when we look at it at a point of having a choice in the matter, like some
Hmm.
people would say, I don't have a choice. I was just diagnosed with this and I have this. And you looked at it as a
Mm.
choice and how to move forward.
Yeah,
And you chose to move forward.
it takes a lot to take me down. Obviously, like I'm not saying that this was easy. This was definitely this one was a hit to me because it was like, like I said in my story, it's like getting hit with the baseball bat, getting up, and then getting hit again. And I just refuse to give up. I don't know where that comes from. All I can guess is it's that East Coast attitude. Like, try harder. Like if you want to knock me out, you're gonna really have to knock me out. Which, for better or worse, again, worked out in my favor.
Hmm. And you said it was hard at times. How did you approach those hard times and how did you get through those hard times?
I think in the beginning I was just blindly naive and just kept thinking, all right, let's keep putting in the work. Let's keep working. Let's keep working. But later on, as got home before the pandemic, so the timing of everything helped in my favor again. The pandemic messed up everybody, right? And that's when I came out of rehab the second time. So everybody was on like hiatus and break, like across the world. So it did make it a little easier, but then like started to sink in like, okay, this is going to be harder than I thought. Took me a while to get out of the wheelchair, especially, I mean, it really took me about a year and a half to get completely out of the wheelchair, and stand or walk for more than like 5 minutes. Um, and it was a slow grind, but again, 2020 was pretty slow, even in Florida, for everybody. It
Hmm.
wasn't until the world opened up in 21 where my eyes opened up and I really started doing even more work. I'm just I'm kind of detrimental to myself. Like I just kept insisting if I do the work, if I do the grind, if I put in 1,000%, I will get back to where I want to be. And I still believe that, but I'm more realistic about things now.
How so?
Well, I just know I can't do certain things the way I used to be able to do them 5 years out. And I know where and when to compromise, and I'm a little safer. I'm a little smarter. I know, okay, well, I used to do this 200 miles an hour. I could probably do it still could probably do it faster than most people, but I need I need to breathe for a second. I need to take an extra pause. I need to realize it won't happen quite as easily as like something as simple as like picking up a drill and screwing in a screw. I would have given that no thought 5 years ago. But now I'm like, all right, pick up the screw, hold it correctly, pick up the drill. Like it's a little slower and it's hard for me because I hate going slow, but I realize if I just go slow, I can do it. It's fine. And then I look around and I remind myself, everybody else moves at that pace. I just always moved at a very different pace. So now I just have to be quote unquote, air quote, normal, for lack of a better word, instead of instead of going or being 1,000%. So
As stroke survivors, we often hear how important patience is.
hmm
But when someone says you just need to be patient, sometimes we just want to, like,
yeah.
it's so hard to figure out how to be patient. How do you accept that and become okay with that slower pace?
That's a good question. I hate it, to be candid, but I just realized like, okay, if I just pause or I slow down a little bit, I'll actually get it done faster, better, less frustrated. And it's hard because when you're used to going a certain speed and you have to slow down, it just takes time. I mean, honestly, I've had to consistently daily for the last 5 years plus now just accept it. And once I've accepted it, I just, again, it's like being a 5-year-old. Like that's what I always equate stroke to is like, because my son was 4. So I was like, all right, well, my stroke puts me back. It's like I was 37 and we went back to 4.
Hmm.
And so the same thing is true with the speed. Like you can't go the speed you used to. So you gotta start slow
Hmm.
and then build up and back, whatever it is, up and back.
Yeah. You went back through the logic. Actually, it's more efficient if I take my time because I do
Mhm.
it right that way. Otherwise, I need to go back and redo it or I fumble around with it. There's actually logic behind going slower.
Yeah, and that actually probably would have been true most of my life up until the stroke because when I used to do woodworking projects, I would like plan things out, I'd measure things out, and then I'd still somehow mess it up because I was going too fast. I
Yeah.
just didn't, you don't think about it when it's not like something you have to think about because you're just like, well, I mishammered or misscrewed, take it out, no big deal, put it back in the right way. And really, life has taught me should have just done it this way in the first place. Take the extra second to pause.
You've talked before about liking to work with your hands, like around the
Hmm.
house. You went back to work
Yeah,
and you're working with your hands now. Do you still work in the wood shop?
I do. I still do woodworking, now doing plumbing full time. It is frustrating because you see other guys, especially in my day job now, they're going fast, but so I'm constantly reminded, okay, just take the extra second. It's no big deal. Just breathe. It's all these things. It's good. It's helpful because, and I think we actually talked about it recently on a call. A fellow survivor was also getting back into the shop and into using tools, and he's just like, I just have to go slower. And I was like, same thing, like, which was really awesome to hear because, it sucks, but what are you gonna do? I mean, I'd rather be alive and go a little bit slower than be, the opposite way. So,
Yeah, that was last week's Survivor Gathering. Someone talked about they just started using power tools, and
yep,
then somebody else said that they
ladders.
climbed a ladder this
Yeah.
week. And somebody else said, whoa, careful. I know that I listen to my gut because sometimes my gut says, don't do it. And then other
Yep.
times I just have to do it carefully, like what you're saying, taking your time.
And it's actually funny because I think that was a couple days ago, and I think the day after I had that gut intuition. I was like, I'm tired. I shouldn't do this thing. And I wound up doing the thing and I made a mistake and I regretted it immediately because I knew I should have just said, hey, man, I'm tired. It's been a long Thursday. Like, it was not a huge deal, but it was like, ugh, I made
Yeah.
that mistake that we had just talked about on a group call and I knew better. And I still did it because I'm who I am.
That's so human, right? We just want to do it. We just want to get it done. We want to be able to do it and it's constant learning and relearning
Mhm.
like you're
Yeah.
saying. It's just
Mhm.
so you said sometimes I just have to take a second and breathe.
Yeah.
And that reminds me of part of your story where you talk about the book Breathe.
Yeah.
Will you tell us a little bit about how that book has played a role in your own recovery?
Yeah, so this is I would say fundamentally, and I've read a ton of books over the last 5 years. I mean, I've always been a reader, but I think I accelerated that since the stroke. I read everybody's story I could find in the early days, any book on stroke. Again, I thought there was a magic pill, there was some magical fix. So I was reading anything and everything that would help me get there. And then my sister recommended Breath by James Nestor in 2020, I think, when it first came out. And I didn't read it for about 18 months, which is pretty standard. My younger sister is exactly 18 months younger than me. So I always do things 18 months later. So she's always somewhere like 3 years ahead of me, even though she's
Yeah.
younger. And I read the book finally, and it changed my life. Honestly, it really did. I always was interested in breath work and meditation. I had actually gotten into meditation a little bit in 2020 by using the Calm app, which I also loved because it was just like 10 minutes. It was a walkthrough of Tamara Levitt, who is the voice of Calm. She's great because it was just like sit in the chair and just be. And if your mind is racing, let it race. Like meditation doesn't have to be a certain thing or a certain way. And so that sunk in. So I got into that, which really helped because I was still working full time, having trouble kind of figuring out how to like balance the day and all the work and the stress. And long story short, I read the book by James Nestor, and that fundamentally changed things for me because I was a former smoker, a former drinker, I'm actually also a former athlete, but I never realized the power of nasal breathing in particular because I know he has stuffy nose from smoking and all that kind of stuff, which of course I no longer do. But it's like, oh yeah, I don't do this stuff anymore. I should be able to breathe free and clear. Again, I dive 1,000% in, go way off the deep end because it's starting to change my life because I'm realizing, oh, this is working. Like breath work is pretty powerful. It sounds corny. I thought it did. No offense to you, Molly, but you're on the West Coast. I always thought this is some West Coast BS. Like this is dumb, blah, blah, blah. And because it worked, and it works almost immediately when you do some of these breathing exercises, it's like, oh, why didn't anybody tell me this until I was 39? It's so simple, yet nobody teaches you. I'm thinking back to when I was a kid. I don't know if you had this problem because I knew you were a runner most of your life, but I was like the big kid, right? And then I fluctuated up and back and forth. But I always played sports. I was always the guy with the cramp. A lot of us always have cramps because we're trying to run 2,000 miles an hour and we're all kids and nobody knows to breathe through their nose. It's actually more beneficial. I go way down this rabbit hole, way into the science. I'm like, oh, it's science backed. It's not just some stupid West Coast BS. It's got science behind it.
Well,
Yeah. Yeah. So immediately I'm captured and it's working and it really did change everything for me because I got a Peloton. I rode that thing so much the summer of 2022 that quite literally I hurt my rear end from riding it so much because I would do the classes, but I can't stand up and ride a bike for 6 hours a day. I need some sit down time. So I would sit down, I'd be soaking wet. Long story short, I'm like, well, now I've rode so much, so many miles that my butt hurts. And I actually had to go outside and see if I could run because I wanted to do the cardio, and the breath work helped the nasal breathing. Got into running. And of course, here we go. Start running October of 22.
will you tell me how much you weighed at that point when you started?
I think I was down to, I'm going to say 375, 400. I think it was under 400 at that point because I initially lost weight just by not drinking and kind of eating better that first year because I knew I needed to change things and I wanted to. I just, unfortunately for me, it was too late. And so that took 100 pounds off without even blinking. So yeah, I was probably 375 when I started running. So I just going slow, didn't care. It's like, I started a stroke. I'm not trying to race anybody. And yeah, like I said, I got off the bike because I literally couldn't sit on the bike anymore. And very much like Forrest Gump, started running. I was like, oh my God, this is working. I don't hate this. I was just going low and slow. And I started running. And then 2 years later, I got to 15,000 miles. I'm still running, but not as often. So yeah, you can go from a stroke survivor living with MS, hating running your whole life, 530 pounds down to about 240 now, give or take.
Wow.
Got a little thinner than that, but it was a little too thin, so I've added a little back. So good, healthy 240 now.
Nice, Will.
Yeah.
And you also said that once you started running as a way to, one, motivate other people,
Yeah.
but two, hold yourself accountable, you were
Mhm.
posting on social media.
Yeah.
And tell me a little bit about that process.
Yeah. Well, I really just started doing it because I, one, kind of wanted to get involved with runners, but I was trying to find runners who are not air quote runners. Like my wife is a marathoner, and I love her, but I find her marathoning schedule and running routine annoying. So I was trying to find the other people getting into running, and I found them. And so, I was just kind of talking and like I was sharing my journey, and people started connecting within the running community, and that brought on survivors. And I just wanted to show people what was possible because you hear all these stories, and a lot of them are because still the average age is 65. There are not a lot of 65-year-olds looking to go run after their stroke necessarily. So I wanted to be a resource for people like us that are younger when we had our stroke. So as I started sharing, it was motivating. As dumb as social media is, even if you get a couple people like hearting your posts, like, "Hey, good job, you ran a couple miles today," like that's helpful. To tell you the truth, I just started sharing. It seemed to be something that resonated with people, and I did want to show the non-survivors because there's a lot of non-survivors because a lot of people, thankfully, aren't stroke survivors, and so people counted me out early on, including my insurance company, because I got the power wheelchair after my stroke and MS diagnosis. And I guess that whole thing ties into I was certainly knocked down and got knocked down in a pretty big way, but I just wanted to prove and show myself and others you can try, but you're gonna have to try a lot harder than that to knock me. You're gonna have to hit me. You're gonna have to finish me if Mortal Kombat style. If you really want to knock me out, you're gonna have to.
Will.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I'm a kid of the '90s, so Mortal Kombat was the first thing that came into
Uh,
my head.
and now you run Survivor Science. Will
I
you
do.
tell us a little bit about what that is and
Yeah, Survivor
what it
Science is the brand I created because in 2021, I felt like people didn't understand. None of my coworkers really realized just how hard this was, how much I was going through. Maybe I wasn't communicating. They were afraid to ask. It was hard. And so Survivor Science came about because I got into work for myself. I was doing a lot of coaching, went to school to be a life coach, pretty much like everybody during the pandemic. Again, my stuff just lined up with the pandemic. It wasn't because of the pandemic. It's because I had just had a stroke, and I'm like, I know how to lead teams, manage people. I understand people. I'm a survivor. I've started to figure this out. Let me go be the resource that I always wanted that really couldn't find. Bill was around, but I didn't find Bill until the last year.
recovery after stroke.
Yeah, I created the thing that I always wanted. Survivor Science is really just kind of the brand that I created because I started the podcast, the blog, is really just a resource for people where to get started, what to do, what to look out for.
You're inviting multiple survivors in
Yeah,
because there's not necessarily one route that works for everybody. And
right.
so people get to share what they're trying and what's working for them and what's not working for them, but
Yeah,
you're bringing a lot of voices to the table. And
absolutely.
that's a beautiful way for people to gather and share what they've found and engage in community. And you're offering resources
Hmm.
that you looked for as a survivor, especially in the early years.
Yeah.
You're offering community, which is
Hmm.
really important for survivors and with the sense of isolation that comes on.
Yeah.
And motivation. You were 530 pounds
Hmm.
when you first had
Yes.
your stroke and were diagnosed with MS.
Yeah.
And then you started to get out there, you ate differently, you pushed yourself in therapy,
Hmm.
became a runner,
Yeah.
all of this. And it's quite an inspiration.
I think I just got tired really quickly of hearing all these excuses. I'm like, okay, I understand. We all make them sometimes, but I got sick of the excuses and I just wanted answers and I couldn't even get them. I wanted a resource. There are resources out there, but everything is so chaotic and spread out. Why can't everything be centralized? Like, it's hard enough to be a stroke survivor. Just to go back so everybody knows, when I had my stroke, I had a left brain stroke, so I was right side affected. So my entire right side was paralyzed. The MS diagnosis 2 months after wiped out the left side of my body. So I literally was a giant, useless blob. Left leg didn't work, right leg didn't work, right arm didn't work, left hand didn't work. That's hard enough. Any paralysis is hard enough. Like, why are we making resources for people who want them, who want to try to get better? It just shouldn't be that hard.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, I'm so grateful for our time together. I know that you're a very, very busy man, and between your running schedule and your survivor science schedule and your work, you went back to work during this process too. So thank you for meeting with me for the past few months in order to articulate and publicly share your story.
I'm grateful for us. Absolutely. Anybody I can help anytime. Hit me up, send me a DM, whatever you need. I'm happy to help. We both know how hard this is, and if people got a question, they need help, reach out.
Will do. Thank you, Will. Thanks for taking time today, Will.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Molly.
Storytelling empowers us to share our experiences in a way that invites others to reflect on their own. In closing, we offer reflection questions as an opportunity to spark dialogue with yourself, friends, family, and fellow stroke survivors. In a moment, I will read questions aloud. You can also find them written in the podcast episode description. Community conversation prompts. What new passion or interest have you discovered since your stroke? And how has your journey inspired others? Thank you for listening to Part 2, Will Schmierer's interview. For the full story, please listen to Part 1, Will Schmierer's story.
Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke is made possible by our guests and tax-deductible donations from friends and listeners like you. Join us in empowering stroke survivors with stories of wisdom, purpose, connection, and hope at www.beyondstillness.org. Another way to support is to like, share, or subscribe to our weekly show.
Each colorful memory creates a parable for life's greater teachings, a compass for journeys ahead, and inspired wisdom for unique growth. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke. Will's journey is a powerful reminder that change is possible, one step at a time. His dedication to recovery and helping others proves that resilience is built through action. If this story resonated with you, please like, share, or subscribe, and consider donating to Beyond Stillness Stories After Stroke. Remember, as part of the stroke community, you are more than supportive. You are inspirational.